What's going on, guys? Today is a big day for us NFL fans as training camp opens up today for many teams around the NFL. I was watching some coverage earlier today with the Dolphins and the Jets. I was reading about the Vikings, of course. They broke training camp today after reporting to Mankato yesterday. And as expected, the Vikings made the move to put Adrian Peterson on the physically unable to perform list, which will keep him out of training camp practices and activities right now, which I was hoping they would do because I don't want them to rush him back too quickly, especially coming off of that major knee surgery. I know Adrian Peterson is a very unique individual, but still, don't test it now. It's not worth it right now. Week 1, perhaps we'll see how his rehab progressions still come. But even with the star of the Minnesota Vikings being injured right now and a lot of question marks about this team, I am very excited for this NFL season as a whole. I mean, looking at all the offseason things that went down, I mean, Peyton Manning's back, and we got Andrew Luck and RG3 coming out of the draft. It's going to be a big year, I think. It's going to be an exciting year. I've been looking forward to it this entire offseason with all the moves that have happened. Randy Moss is back. He's with the San Francisco 49ers. But I'm still even excited about the Minnesota Vikings coming off of a 3-13 season and a packed division in the NFC North with the Bears, Lions, and Packers. They're all three solid teams and could all go to the playoffs in the NFC. All three of those teams go to the playoffs. But still, I'm excited with the Vikings. They went 3-13 last year, but I'm looking for some improvement on the record and as far as the play goes and at various positions. And so I have some things pinpointed that I want to really talk about now that I'm focusing on throughout this training camp. I'll be watching some of the live feeds they do on the Vikings website, and I'll be reading articles every day that I'll be probably talking about some of the undrafted free agents and how they're doing in draft and some of the late draft picks and whatnot. And so there's a lot of players that I'm really looking at. Of course, the big one is going to be Christian Ponder. I mean, what team that struggles with a young quarterback are you not paying attention to the quarterback? Obviously, people are going to look at Blaine Gabbert and they're going to look at Christian Ponder and those guys. So I'm looking at Christian Ponder a lot. I mean, I read about OTAs and the mini camps they had a month ago, and it had appeared that Ponder is a better player, but now these guys are in pads. We're closer to the season. Preseason heats up pretty soon. We'll have a better idea as the season draws near, but I'm looking at Christian Ponder a lot. I don't just want to see him get better. I want to see him take control of this offense and not just, be a little bit more accurate this year, have a little bit higher completion percentage and maybe a couple more touchdowns to interceptions. I want to see noticeable improvement, and I'm a person who has a lot of confidence in Christian Ponder right now. I think his physical skill set is perfect for the Vikings offensive scheme, and I hope that Ponder becomes a leader in that locker room and guys around him have confidence in him, as I'm hoping he can be the Vikings starting quarterback going forward. And I say that Christian Ponder's progression this year dictates how well the Vikings will be this year and where they end up going into 2013 next year. And so there's some other players, however, that I will be focusing on specifically throughout training camp and preseason that I'm hoping can take over roles on this team and make the Vikings a better team sooner rather than later. And one of those guys is wide receiver Greg Childs, whom they drafted in the 4th round. They took 2 Arkansas wide receivers, him and Jarius Wright, but I think Greg Childs has the opportunity to see the field sooner and more this season, especially with Jerome Simpson's 3-game suspension to begin the year. I think that Greg Childs has an opportunity, but I'm hoping that his health allows him to fulfill his potential because he was a great receiver before his patella injury, and so I'm hoping we can see a 100% Greg Childs, although in the Vikings minicamp last month, Childs dealt with a calf strain, and I'm just hoping that he's good to go for training camp and that he impresses because he could have the shot at starting in week 1 because of Jerome Simpson's suspension. Another guy I'm looking at here is a safety that they drafted out of Notre Dame, another late round pick. It was in the 5th round, Robert Blanton, and they already had drafted one Notre Dame secondary player earlier in Harrison Smith in the 1st round, whom they traded up for. And the reason I'm focusing on Robert Blanton is because the Vikings safety play was really bad last year. They traded up for Harrison Smith to fill up one hole, but there's still going to be a competition now for the opposite safety spot that'll likely be between Jamarcus Sanford, Mistral Raymond, and Robert Blanton. And so if Blanton is impressive, he could see some major playing time this year as well, although I'm thinking right now that Mistral Raymond will capture that starting spot. I liked a little bit of what I saw from him last year, but I saw a lot of inconsistency with the awareness around Jamarcus Sanford. And now I'm going to stay in the secondary here for a second because the Vikings secondary was really bad last year, let up a lot of passing yards, and I believe their NFL record was 9 games in a row with 0 interceptions. And they definitely addressed cornerback this year, going out and getting Chris Carr and Zach Bowman, but they also drafted a guy who I'm excited for, Josh Robinson, out of University of Central Florida. And I really like Josh Robinson because of his speed, and I'm hoping his speed can translate well, and he has the coverage skills to play in the Vikings zone scheme, which has always been letting up a lot of yards. I'm hoping with Josh Robinson's speed that it can close up zones faster and he can stick with receivers running downfield if that's his given assignment. And also, one of the dark horses I'm looking at is undrafted cornerback Bobby Felder out of Nichols State, who had one of the most impressive mini camps last month for the Vikings. And so other guys I'm looking at, Stephen Burton, second-year man out of West Texas A&M, the Vikings 7th-round draft pick last year. He saw minimal action last year and got injured, but I'm hearing that he's improved a lot this offseason, but he's already got himself a little bit of an injury so far that I read about this morning. So I'll see about Stephen Burton. The Vikings can use any help at receiver, especially outside threats that they've lacked since Randy Moss's departure, other than a short time with Sidney Rice. And another guy I'm looking at is a major dark horse and somebody nobody's really been talking about. He may not be a starter, he might only be a special teams contributor or whatever, but the Vikings signed Solomon Elimimian earlier this year in like February. It was way back when, out of the CFL. He played for the BC Lions. He was Rookie of the Year there, and he was also voted the league's hardest hitter, and he helped the Lions capture a Grey Cup championship last year. And with the Vikings having a major hole at middle linebacker and a lot of uncertainty about Jasper Brinkley's health and his ability in pass coverage, I think we could see Solomon Elimimian get some good reps, and I'm really excited to watch him play. And so anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts with the Vikings training camp this year and who you're going to be focusing on and who you're going to be watching at improving the most. And I hope you guys are excited for a lot more NFL stuff I have coming with preseason approaching and training camps being underway. I'll have a lot to talk about. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys next time.